We are now live on the Dangerous Liberty Podcast. All right, folks, what is happening? Happy Monday out there. It is Monday, right? Yeah, Monday. Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to the Dangerous Liberty Podcast. We got a great guest for you. We got a great show for you tonight. Also, little did I remember when I scheduled this that there is going to be an interview with Erica Kirk with Sean Hannity at 9 p.m. We're going to stream that live, and we will talk about that afterwards as well. So, but I do want to welcome everybody over in the comments. We're already getting the crazies in there, and that's fine. You are welcome here, folks, no matter how crazy you are, no matter how much you support Candace. I don't really care. We encourage disagreement, but we will not tolerate name calling. It's real simple. Look, I do these lives so that we can have these interactions. I want to interact with you, and especially with people that I disagree with. There's a lot to discuss, and there's a lot to parse through when it comes to the Charlie Kirk assassination altogether. I see the investigation into Charlie Kirk and what's going on with Candace as two different things. So for those of you that still have questions about the Charlie Kirk assassination, I agree with you. I think there are still some questions about what's going on. I think they should be looked into. That's why I have spent the time, energy, and effort into this. And, you know, starting this whole thing off, what I did was I've had many people on with opposing views, and I will still have people on with opposing views when it comes to different theories, what they think happened. And I've always tried to create this collaborative, because that's what it needs. Like, if we're going to hold the government accountable and we're going to be a real mainstream media alternative, we can't outfake the fake news. And one of the things that you need opposing opinions and views to make sure that you don't have any blind spots, right? I'm not so ego-driven to think that I can't see things incorrectly or I can't interpret things incorrectly. And that's why I've always encouraged people to come on and we have these discussions. And when, you know, they believe something, you know, we had Blake Bednar's, he still believes that there's an exploding mic. You know, I wanted to hear what he had to say about that, to see if maybe there's something to that. We've had multiple people on that have discussed those different things. And I think there are still questions to be asked. The problem that I have with Candace, as I've laid out, is I do think this has turned into something much more sinister. And I think this is being hijacked by adversarial political forces, by adversarial foreign entities as well. And I think part of it is that she is being exploited. I think some of these sources are real problems that are feeding her information. She is a person that is too eager and will do everything that she can. She will bend space and time to prove that her narrative is correct. And what the other thing that she's doing many times, and I got a lot more videos coming, folks, not just the one that I put out. We got I got plenty of material to work with. But the fact is that at this point, I know for a fact that she is intentionally trying to deceive people. And I don't know what the motive is. I can speculate what that motive is. I think there's multiple there. Money is definitely money, clicks, and power. Candace is wealthy. I don't necessarily think it's about money. I think it's about status. I think that's really what drives her personally. But the fact is, we can put all that stuff aside. That's my personal opinion. When we bring it back down to facts, the fact is that she is deceiving the American people. And I've had enough of it. I'm tired of being called a fad because I present truth. I back everything that I have with evidence. And there's a lot of things going on. And I have left this alone for 3 months because I thought people would come to their senses, and it's just getting worse and worse and worse. And it's so obvious to me, and it's so obvious to a lot of people. And I'll be honest with you, folks, I genuinely thought that I was going to lose like half my subscribers posting that video the other day. I don't care. I don't do this. I don't make a living off of this. I've lost money pursuing this whole Candace thing. I've lost money through revenue because this is kind of built into our business model of, we sell guns, we sell training, all those things. And when I'm taking away from time from that, I'm losing money. So this is because I love this country. This is because truth is the soul of this nation. And it is not okay to sit there and accuse people of murder, conspiracy, assassinations without proof. It is not okay to do that. I don't care if we have a disagreement on who killed Charlie. Okay, what I do have a real problem with is when you start destroying people's lives here in the United States because you're putting forth accusations that you can't back up with any sort of evidence, and then you take people on this wild goose chase of Egyptian planes. Like, there's a lot going on wrong with that. So, anyways, want to say hi to everybody. A couple of things that are going to happen. Number one, I'm about to bring on Keri. And I think you guys are going to find some of her content very interesting. Make sure that you go check out her links to all her socials. Go follow her. So we are going to be doing a live stream with Erica at 9 p.m. And then this podcast, we're going to run just like we normally would a normal podcast with Keri. Towards the end of that, maybe around the time that we go to Erica, we're going to take questions, or maybe even after that. But we want to get your questions in. We want to read your comments, all the things. If you'd like to become a member and support us, we appreciate that. And if you haven't done so already, make sure you like and subscribe. I do want to say thank you to all of our moderators out there. I don't give you guys nearly enough credit. And quite frankly, you guys do such a good job that I often forget about you. So without further ado, I want to go ahead and bring on Keri Smith. Keri, thank you for coming on. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me, Gary.
No, it's awesome.
I'm happy there are some good things that actually come from X. It's not all terrible.
No. So I'm still figuring X out. I'm not going to lie. It's not my forum, right? I understand YouTube, but what the thing that I really do appreciate about X is that I have been able to talk to people, reach out to people, get great guests on, and I count you among those. And hopefully we'll do some things in the future because you got some great content. I think even outside of this whole Charlie Kirk thing, Candace situation, people need to be aware of your work and what you're doing. And I think it's really important. So I thank you for what you do and the time and effort that you put into all this. And I really appreciate you coming on tonight.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So if you will, just tell everybody a little bit about who you are, kind of what you do, and then kind of how you got into this too. I still haven't heard that story, and I'm interested to hear that myself.
I'll give you the short version, and anyone who's interested can, I did an hour-long, or maybe longer than that, interview with Trigonometry that goes into the details of it. But I used to be in the woke left. I was one of these people who was like a true believer in that ideology. I was indoctrinated at Duke University. And I say indoctrinated, I'm responsible for my choices. I was an adult, but I fell into it like a lot of college kids do. I didn't realize I didn't realize what it was. I thought it was just liberalism. And I was in it for 20 years. And I started leaving around 2016, 2017, and all the things that happened. This was before it was very common to see people who left the left. It was, there's still a lot of social consequences for leaving that cult. I work with people who are trying to leave it or contemplating leaving it, but there are not as many, thankfully, because I think the culture war, we've been winning a lot of battles against that ideology. So back then it was still very much like social suicide. So when I left, I had to step away from my career. I had been working in comedy. I produced a late night TV show and some comedy specials. I worked with comedians who were woke. I pushed woke ideology in my work. I left all of that behind and moved to Texas. It's like, I don't care what I have to do. I just want to be able to say what I think is real. And I lost a bunch of friends.
What was the catalyst for that? Like, what was the moment?
It was 2016. That was a big cultural inflection point. A lot of people woke up then because they were seeing what I was seeing. That was the year there was the sniper in Dallas at the Black Lives Matter protest who killed a bunch of innocent people, a bunch of police officers and civilians. And when that happened, I saw people in my cult, which I didn't realize at the time was a cult. I saw people in my world online celebrating it, and they were saying things like, some old white men are going to have to die. And I'm like, what is this? This is not what liberalism, this is not what I signed up for. And I was trying to talk to some of these people, and it was just, there was no talking. And then around the same time, I started to see, this was back when on YouTube, before YouTube started doing all of the crazy censorship and only recommending what they call authoritative sources. Back then, you could go down a rabbit hole of stuff that you were actually looking for. And so I went down this rabbit hole of videos of leftists, people on my side, presumably attacking Trump supporters, like bloodying them, chasing them, throwing bricks at them, egging them, all of this violence captured on film. And I didn't know any of that was happening. I was the typical cultist. I was in my echo chamber. I only read the approved sources. I only was friends with the approved people. So that emotionally shook me. And I mentioned that because a lot of people who have left a cult, or whether it's the leftist cult or another kind of cult, there's usually some kind of emotional thing that happens. You don't reach them with facts, at least not at first. There's like an emotional awakening that happens. So that shook me. And at that point, you don't leave a cult quickly either. It's not like I left after made me cry, and I didn't know why this was different than what I thought was the truth, because I thought Trump supporters are violent and crazy, right? But that was like a fracture in my belief system. And then after that, I started trying to listen to people I had previously never listened to. I started trying to have conversations. And when Trump won in 2016, I was still in the cult. I was still one of the people who was like, this is awful. I believed all the crap. Oh, he's a demagogue.
Did you do the
But
string at the sky thing?
no, but I cried. And then I cried. But then I saw people in my world, my cult, who just could not function. I had friends who like couldn't take care of their kids, like were people who could not function after he won. And I was watching all of this, and I was still trying to understand. So I at that time, I wanted to understand why he won, because I didn't want him to win again 4 years later, right? So I started trying to listen to people on the right and listen to what they were saying, and I was realizing a lot of this stuff is true, like the PC culture, the censorship, the violence, like the stuff they were talking about was true. And I quickly found out what a lot of people find out. I thought I could just talk to my echo chamber, right? Like, hey guys, look at what they're talking about here with, I think it was a Jonathan Pye video I saw about PC culture. I'm like, this is really important. We should pay attention to this if we don't want him to win again. People are voting for him because we've become so censorious and so violent and extremist and radical and are defending murder and stuff, right? And they're like, no. He only won because of racism and sexism, Keri. And it was, it was what you would expect. And so when it took me about 6 months, I finally left, and Jordan Peterson had shared a letter that I wrote him, and shortly after that, I wrote an essay that he shared that was about. It was actually written for my former friends in the woke cult. I was trying to explain to them what I was seeing, like this is wrong. It was called leaving the social justice cult and finding myself, and that was like 2017 when I finally left it. And after that essay, that was like the great unfriending happened. And I had quit my career by then. I was like, I'll just leave this. I'm gonna go to Texas and sell cowboy boots. Like, I'll do whatever I have to do so I can say what I think. And it was like, I had friends in the cult who, some of them were journalists, like leftist journalists that were posting stuff about how I was their former friend who became a right-wing Nazi troll and all this stuff. And then one friend came to Texas to stage an intervention for me, like a political intervention. Yes. It was a long
Hold on.
process.
So
And
somebody traveled to your location
yes.
to have an intervention
Yes.
and get you out of the grasp of the Nazis.
Yes. She basically had been elected by all of my former friends to be the one to talk to me. And she said, human beings are tribal. And I said, I think you're right. That's true. And she said, and you're not just leaving the tribe, you're attacking it. And I was like, well, she's like, you'll never be welcome back. I'm like, I don't want to come back. And then she started attacking the tribe she thought I was joining. And I'm like, I'm trying to be a nomad for a while and figure things out. Like at that point, I was like, I don't even, I'm now an independent at that time. I'm still an independent, but I obviously have been voting Republican because they're the only sane choice. So, yeah, I was one of those people. I went from crying in 2016 that he won to voting for him in 2020 and again in 2024. And I have a lot of friends. Like, so I do a show called Deprogrammed, and it started off, it was about leaving the woke left. And now it's a lot of it's about that, but it's also about other kinds of cults and ideology and the way people can get sucked into something and used. Because a lot of people in that woke cult are used, you
Yeah.
know. So yeah, that's what I do. I talk to parents and people who have loved ones who are still in that cult. And lately, I've been, for the first time ever, the past 3 months, I've started getting messages and people, texts and stuff from people who are asking me about a different cult. I've had parents who are asking me about their sons, in the what I call the Fuentes cult, the Groyper cult. Um, and so I think things are shifting a little bit, and that's new for me. Talking to parents about, like, they're like, I never prepared for this. One mom said, she homeschooled, did all the right things to protect her kids from the leftist woke crap, and she's like, I never even considered that there would be these frauds presenting themselves as being on the right, that I would have to worry about protecting them from, building them up enough and giving them the tools to recognize that kind of a con artist. So
Interesting. Yeah. So, you laid out, number one, I can't think of his name right now, but he actually laid out a really good video a few weeks ago, and he was talking about the different deceptive practices that Candace is using. That I was like, when I hear somebody talk about an episode that I just watched, and folks, for the record, I've watched over 20 episodes from beginning to end. So for those of you that say I've never watched a full episode, you have no clue what you're talking about.
that's more than me, by the way. I've watched 12.
It's tough. I mean, that is a job, because of all the, number one, even if I agreed with Candace, the way that she delivers things, I wouldn't be able to relate with her. I guess there's a lot of, I don't know, a lot of different animation and a lot of stuff going on. And that's fine. And by the way, I loved Candace. Was a huge fan of Candace. And I'm actually really sad to see her go down this, because folks, I'm telling you right now, you can, once you wake up to this and you watch one of her episodes, it just, everything becomes so clear what she's doing, the manipulation. And then when you watch her present things, like, I didn't even notice this till I was rewatching one of the clips I watched the other day, that I made the other day, where she never went through these are the charging documents. She never went through the charging documents. And I kept seeing where people were arguing about things that are in the charging documents. I'm like, that this is in there, and I'm pretty sure Candace went through the charging documents. Then I went and rewatched the episode. She actually didn't go through the charging documents. She had her producer kind of summarize these points, and then watching what she had on those and how she summarizes, as opposed to just reading these things, it was very clear to me. It was very manipulative, right? It was very engineered, in that it omitted so much of important information that it was clearly meant to deceive. And she omits things so that she can bend the narrative at her will. So, I watched his video. I've been watching this, and I've been seeing the different things that she does and the different tactics and techniques she uses to deceive people and to keep people entertained and put cliffhangers at the end so that you're going to come back in next week.
Yes.
It is extremely well manufactured entertainment. All right. I can understand why she is entertaining, and I can understand why people are tuning in all the time. With that being said, it's pure disinformation. There's no doubt about that. And that is separate from, to me, that is totally separate. So for those of you who are saying, hey, there's still questions to be asked, she's the only one asking them. Number one, she's not asking them. She's leading you astray. She's taking you outside of the realm of even real possibilities, and it's a distraction. But for those of you that are still curious about all this stuff, I am too. All right. There's still definitely some questions asked that need to be asked that haven't been, and I think a lot of those will be answered during the trial. But then I came across one of your articles on X, and you went through and you listed the different tactics and techniques that she is using that are very similar to cult-like tactics.
Yes.
And I think anytime, and look, to some degree, whether it's education, training, whatever, there's indoctrination, there's things that work, right? And so there's going to be some crossover, because people that are compelling use certain tactics that are known to be compelling. Some of them use them for good, and then some of them use them for, evil. And I think what she's doing is she's using clear disinformation tactics. So I guess, if you will, just kind of walk us through some of the things that you believe that she's doing to create this cult-like base that you can't speak logic to. You can't even reason with them, and I don't understand it.
Yes, well, first, I'll get to her cult tactics, but before I do that, I just want to describe the characteristics of a cult itself
Sure.
so that people can kind of connect the dots and for themselves say, does this fit? Does this fit? Does this fit? And so one of those is classically an authoritarian and charismatic leader that you can't question. Now, in the woke left cult, checks off almost all of the cult characteristics except for that one, with that one exception. But it checks off enough to be classified as a cult. But Candace is, a lot of these cult of personalities, they're built around a personality. They're built around a person. They're built around a charismatic person. So that's one of the first characteristics. Excessive devotion from the cult members, excessive devotion, unquestioning faith. I think you can see that clearly if you've watched 22 episodes. She does something I've never seen before. Maybe other people do it, but she was the first person I saw doing this. She reads only effusive praise of herself pretty much at the end of each episode. She closes each episode reading effusive praise. It's very different than going through and reading certain comments or questions. A lot of people read, there's questions, there's comments. Yes, there's praise. I love your show, whatever. But you read other stuff, and I read stuff from people who disagree with me, things like that, and then challenge it. She ends it with just effusive praise of dear leader, right? And so people who are in the cult come to learn that if you want to have your comment read, like, you better step it up. So it becomes more and more effusive. You're going to save us. God protect you. Protect this woman at all costs, that kind of stuff. So extreme devotion. Isolation is another characteristic. Isolation and this real us versus them mentality. She's very skilled at this. She clipped my show and kind of made fun of this as if she didn't understand it, but she understands it. She uses inclusive language, meaning she speaks for we and us instead of for me and I. So she speaks for the cult, and not just the cult. If you've seen her shows, you've seen her speak for the world.
Mm-hmm.
She will say, instead of saying, I want to know this, she'll say, the world wants to know this, the world this, right? And she'll often say we, like recently she told her cult not to vote, and how instead of saying, I don't care about the midterms, she's like, we don't care about the midterms. It's like she's giving you your opinion, we and us. And she's always talking about her efforts to crack the case and discover the real killer, whatever, in that we and us language. We are doing this, us, we, us. So there's a lot of that. A high degree of information control. As you mentioned, she has not even read the charging documents, and her cult is not familiar with them. She managed to have CNN, which is a laughing stock of a propaganda channel, they managed to humiliate her because she didn't know what was in the indictment. She didn't know
text messages. Yeah.
She did not realize they were text messages, and she just said a lie that, oh, well, I know they're not, one of the reasons I know they're not real is because, this Discord said they weren't, and the CNN reporter's like, they're not Discord messages, they're text messages. And then she just repeated her lie. So they're not getting real information. Manipulation and high control tactics. So one of the ways she manipulates is she's always insinuating that her life is in danger and that the cult needs to protect her. And it's really her cult members are becoming more radicalized over time. We've already seen one of them arrested for making death threats to some of her targets, to multiple targets of hers. There was a shooting outside a Tim Pool studio. I'm not going to speculate, but many have. Like, is this related to him? Suddenly, he's criticizing her now too. Who knows? But I do think
I even shared, and it wasn't the only one, but I shared one message that was going around that was a clearly a threat, and it was in support of Candace against some. It's on my X profile, but that is definitely going around, and you see how rabid. Like I said this in the video. Like, I've been doing politics for a long time. We've always been a gun channel, but I've always pushed conservative politics, and we've had the liberals and we've like Antifa come on here and talk all kinds of smack. This is like 50x the level of crazy and abusive language and intent and, like organized character assassination like I've never seen. It's like nothing I've ever seen. It's just simple as that. It's
I
much worse than
agree.
blood.
It's wicked. I get hate mail. I've been getting hate mail for 8 years from leftists, from the white nationalists, the Fuentes types, from both sides, extremists, right?
Yeah.
The hate mail I get from Cantifa, that's the new pun I heard. The hate mail I get from Cantifa is so malicious. There's something very dark about it. And I can talk to, generally speaking, I can talk to people in most cults. I don't automatically block someone because they're in the woke left or what people are calling the woke right or anti-Semite, whatever. I can talk to QAnon people, whoever, but I can't talk to Candace people. It's that level of malice that they've adopted from her, and I don't want to have anything to do with them. I think they're potentially dangerous. So yeah, the manipulation. Well, so it's funny, that list that I wrote of cult tactics that she uses, I included on there, I think number 6 was that she's always insinuating that her life is in danger, and the cult picks up on that, and then it brings out this rabid, it's meant to bring this out, and it does bring out this rabid defense of her, like, this sort of just over the top emotion and anger and hatred. And that was 20 days before she ramped it up and then said this crazy story about how France is took out a hit on her for $1.5 million, and she knows who did it, and she's got all the receipts. Of course, she never shares receipts of any of this. But so it's like I wrote that, and then 20 days later, she took it to the extreme, that example. Another is financial.
Then she went to Dollywood right after.
Then she went to Dollywood. Then she went to a celebrity-studded Christmas bash. As you do when assassins are. I just find it laughable. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Candy Cultists.
And she sent a text message instead of sending an actual email to the FBI. She just sent a text message that she got no response from. That's what I would do if I thought myself in like, all joking aside, like some of this stuff is a little funny, but all joking aside, folks, ask yourself, if you thought your life was in danger, would you just send a text message to some random FBI person that you know, or would you actually send an email to make sure that it was documented? And then me, I'm not even big on social media. If I really thought that was going on top of that, I would show you the receipt of, hey, here's my email. I would show you that. I would show you that it was sent, and I would show you the acknowledgement of said email. We got none of those things.
I've filed 2 police reports for threats, as people do when you're online. And I did that just to have a paper trail. And, where's her report? Another tactic is financial exploitation. I think you've covered that really well. I mean, she's making bank, pissing on the grave of Charlie Kirk and trying to destroy the right. And I don't think she has any scruples about that. She's willing to make money doing that. I saw one report that said she's making millions. It was either a week or per month. Either way, it's an insane amount of money. And, it makes me think of that Bible verse about winning the whole world but losing your soul. Like at what cost?
Mm-hmm.
So there's definitely financial exploitation of the cult. The cult, there's all that, she's always hawking the merch, and there's always the spot. What's crazy is when she'll be in her very malicious mode, where she's looks to me to be very sadistic while she's going after one of these many targets that she has, these people that Charlie was close with. She'll be in that kind of gleeful, sadistic mode, and then she'll just switch into like, I buy my meat from such and such farms. And I'm like, so she like turns on a dime. It's so creepy. But financial exploitation, mind-numbing techniques. This is one that I think was covered in that video you talked about. I think he may have called it something else, but that's she mind numbs the cult. It's the kitchen sink technique, where you throw so many pieces of information out there that a person, if you watch an episode, you're like, wait, what's happening? What is this? You're tracing, none of it relates, but it's that she overwhelms them with crap and they can't think straight.
No, trying to watch her show and take notes. I'm like, wait, what just happened? Like now we're talking about something else completely. It's so incoherent. Yeah. Anyways, I'm sorry I
Yeah.
interrupted you, but
Oh,
yeah,
you're fine.
it's
Please interrupt
incoherent.
me. It's a lot to get through, so please feel free to interrupt me. The other is the sense of special purpose. One cult characteristic is that the cult has a sense of a special divine purpose, and she's always hammering this home that she's David, and the cult reinforces they know what to say back to her in their effusive praise that she reads out about herself. It's, you're our David, and it's all of that kind of stuff. They have a special purpose. They're gonna, we're gonna solve this case. We're the only ones who care. I'm the only friend real friend he had. It's that special purpose, special mission. And cult leaders often have special knowledge, secret Gnostic knowledge, right? She's got that special knowledge. One of the most disgusting things I've seen her do is to create a ghost Charlie, essentially, by saying that Charlie came to her in a dream and
Yeah.
told her that he was betrayed by everyone close to him. So you're putting words in his mouth from beyond the grave, which I think is vile. And then on top of that, she will take stuff like that she's created, and later she'll add to it. So I saw her in one of the episodes I watched. She was going after Lila Rose, who is a conservative Christian and anti-abortion speaker. She decided to go after Lila Rose that day. There's always people she's going after. And in the course of that, she was attacking Lila Rose and another woman. I forget her name, and she said, and by the way, she just threw in as an aside, it's basically it's the fallacy where you appeal to authority, and the authority is Ghost Charlie, like her dream. She goes, "Oh, by the way, this is one of the people that Charlie warned me about in the dream," and like just added that in. It's sick to do that.
Next thing you know, she's gonna have some golden tablets that she can only read. Um,
Yeah. So that's kind of a summary. I mean,
I'm just
we can get
joking.
into any of those tablets. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So it is, and again, I'm just I'm disappointed that so many people aren't able to see through this. And I thought, again, for 2 months, I'm like, okay, people are gonna catch on. Now we're talking about Egyptian planes. We don't even, even the Egyptian planes. I'm getting ready to do a whole show on that. Like what she's presenting is not what is actually happening. The flight paths and the overlaps that she's saying happen actually don't happen the way that she says they happen. And I don't even understand, all this was going on for 2 years before Charlie's, allegedly decided that he was going to break away from the Israeli cause. So, like, what was going on with that prior to? They were just, keeping tabs on Erica. And then we still don't understand how it actually relates to what happened to Charlie Kirk. And it doesn't have to. It's just, again, it's like you said, she includes everybody. She deputizes all these people so they get to, and these bored housewives and bored people, and now they got something to look forward to, and they can help, and they can send messages, and they can do some sleuthing on the internet. Like, how about my biggest problem with her is, like, why has she not gone to UVU herself? If she is such an investigator, why has she not interviewed people? Why has she not done all of those things? How about you get off your pampered ass and you actually go do some footwork and go do some things if you really care about this investigation, as opposed to just sitting there waiting for sources to tell you everything and to present them completely unvetted sources. And it's a scam. It's a con. And it's disappointing to people seeing people fall for it. And while I do think she is a threat to this country in many different ways, it is an indicator that we are primed for much worse things. If you can be tricked
Yes.
by her, as unsophisticated as she is, you can be tricked very easily by more sophisticated people. And now you're willing to believe anything because of your predisposed biases, whatever you got going on there.
Yes. I think one of the consequences of all of our institutions betraying us, the American people, and I mean our media institutions, the government, education, academia, entertainment, like all of our institutions betraying us and lying to us and gaslighting us for years, which a lot of people finally woke up to in
Yeah.
the past 10 years. I think one consequence of that is that some, not all, some of those people who woke up to all of that just did a slingshot into putting all of this blind faith into
Everything that's not that.
influencers.
Yeah.
Yes, into influencers. And the thing is, like, if you don't have a strong foundation, I believe that, I mean, I know non-believers will disagree with me, but I believe that if you don't have a strong foundation and belief and you put that faith where it belongs, which is in our creator, there's a difference between faith and trust. Like, I think uh, trust is something that people can earn based on habits. Like, if you're habitually prove yourself to be a person with integrity and good behavior, like, then I will give you more I will trust you more naturally. And if you betray that trust, like you said, I used to retweet Candace's stuff. I used to like what she was doing, but she's betrayed that trust. And so I can stop supporting because I think this is awful what she's doing. But the people who can't stop, it's like they mistook faith for trust. They put faith in her.
Yeah.
And faith is really, like, you don't want to put that in a human being, I
Yeah.
don't think.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I
yeah.
mean, faith is the belief in something without evidence. And that's what's going on with her. And the problem is like you can show someone the clear evidence that she's lying time and time again, and they will make excuses for her. They will bend themselves in a mental pretzel, doing these mental gymnastics, trying to justify why it was okay for her to do that. And they will parse everything you say. They'll parse everything that TPUSA says. They will hold them to account for the simplest, most bizarre things, but they will not hold her responsible for anything that she gets wrong or any
Yeah.
lie that she says. And that's what's crazy. And that's where we run into an issue. And folks, I believe there are lots of government conspiracies.
Yep.
And the reason I believe that is because I now have evidence of those conspiracies. Whether we're talking about, I think there's a good possibility. I don't think it's conclusive. I think it's a good possibility that JFK was killed by our own government. I believe that's a really good possibility. But in my own lifetime, we've seen COVID. We were lied to left and right. That was a misinformation, disinformation operation all the way around. And I think the scope of it and the reasons behind it are even bigger than what we see on the face of it. We were told that, if you take this vaccine, you will not get COVID. You cannot spread COVID. We know that was a lie. The 2020 election. Look, I think there is really good evidence that the 2020 election was stolen. And I think there's lots of good evidence as to why that isn't being pursued. That was a government conspiracy. MK Ultra, Midnight Climax. There's lots. Our government has a clear record of lying to us. That
Yep.
being said, as much as the government lies, social media lies too. And the only way that we can figure, and by the way, the government doesn't always lie. Social media doesn't always lie. And the way that we can parse through these things and be able to have good discernment is using logic and evidence. And when we have something that has a lot of evidence over here, but it's coming from a source that we don't like as opposed to, hey, I like this source over here, but there's no evidence, you got to go with the one that has the most evidence. Like, that's just how these things work. And either this source over here is incorrect, they're lying to you, or they just getting things wrong, whatever's going on there. But you can't trade mountains of evidence for something that has zero evidence. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of evidence against, whether we're talking about the Charlie Kirk assassination or any other situation. That's how you get fooled. And it's our own
Yes.
biases. We're our own enemy. Our preconceived notions are what is utilized and manipulated to fool us. And people are much more aware. Look, foreign adversaries and political adversaries are extremely aware that Americans don't trust their government. And they're going to capitalize and exploit that to no end. And they will get you believing crazy things that are not true, that are that will harm you, that will harm our country, even worse than what's going on. And it's not good. And we've got to wake up and we've got to be smart about this.
hmm I, I I have a fascination clearly with cults and cult tactics, and I don't know if you've kept tabs on where the QAnon cult has gone recently. Do you know what they believe now?
Yeah, they moved over to Candace. They are now 100%.
A lot of them have moved to Candace. Yes, the ones who are still like specifically in that QAnon world, though, they believe, because a lot of people have left because they kept promising these big reveals, right? There's this big payoff at the end, kind of like with Heaven's Gate cult. There was supposed to be all these different big payoffs, like, oh, the spaceship's going to come behind the asteroid and take us all away. Every time one of these big payoffs doesn't happen, they have to come up with some reason why it didn't happen, and then they have to move the goalpost and have another big payoff that's coming, right?
Yeah.
When they do that, a
JFK
number of
Jr.
people,
revealing that he's actually alive.
yes, they believe he's
Look,
going to reveal he's alive.
I have some friends that I used to work with that are smart, intelligent people, and they were like, Gary, I'm telling you, you're going to see it.
Me too.
He's JFK Jr. He's still alive, and just wait when Trump gets elected, or I don't even remember what the timeline was. And I'm like, and you start questioning yourself about, you're like, am I the only one that's crazy?
Yeah.
Like, what am I missing here? Because maybe I'm missing something and he is alive, and I'm not in the know. I want to be in the know too. I want to see JFK Jr.
Special knowledge and special purpose, right? That's what it offers you. Look, I have a friend who's like I said, I'll talk to QAnon people. I don't think they're dangerous like the candy cultists. And like you said, there's a big overlap. Some of them have moved to the candy cult, but in QAnon, like they believe that pretty much everybody in the public eye, Trump, Hillary, Biden, they think they're all actors or clones. They think the real Trump has been secretly running things behind the scenes during all of Biden's presidency, that all the people in the public eye are actors, and that the real, like the fake Trump, they keep saying, now they're saying the fake Trump is going to exit the movie. They call it the movie soon. And then the real Trump's going to come out from the shadows, and there's going to be mass arrests around the country, and we're going to find out that they were holding secret military tribunals and they've executed Hillary and Biden. Like they've really gone, because they had the big thing they're promising has to keep getting bigger, and they have to explain why the previous big thing didn't happen yet. Well, Candace is doing that with her cult. She's promising this big payoff of, I'm going to find the real killer, and I'm just wondering how she's going. I know she's going to come up with some excuse about why she didn't solve it, but I wonder how many people she's going to shed from the cult when that happens, because she'll shift it to some other big thing. Now there's this other new payoff.
It was about 20-30%. This is the thing. This is the conversation I keep having on a daily basis, where people are texting me, messaging me, and DMing me like, Gary, wait till these people see the trial. They're all going to see what fools they were. Folks, if you believe that, you are disillusioned. Let me tell you something. No matter what evidence is presented at the trial, a large majority, there will be some that'll be like, okay, I was wrong. But 80% of them are going to deny every bit of evidence at the trial. The same way that look, if you just look at the charging documents, all right, and you look at what's in there, and you look at what they have for evidence, and you look, this evidence is, number one, going to be assessed by the defense. It's going to be cross-examined by the defense. They're going to be able to they're going to get their own experts on all this evidence, and they're going to be able to prove that it's incorrect if it is indeed incorrect. Unless you also believe that his trial lawyers, and there's a bunch of people like, this whole thing's a sham, it's all artificial.
That's what they believe.
Then there's no hope, because there's no evidence that's real. You sure don't have any evidence for your palm guns, flying drones that shoot people, tunnels underneath Charlie's seat. We definitely don't have any evidence of French assassins. The thing that pisses me off the most, that really disturbed me with that whole thing, was where she said, I think there was a bunch of National Guard involved. Like, to implicate our men and women in uniform. And also, by the way, how ridiculous it is. She says she doesn't know anything about the military, but then she accuses the military of these things. Like, if the government was going to pull off an assassination plot on Charlie Kirk, they wouldn't use the National Guard. That in of itself is just the most ridiculous thing. And if you believe that, just understand that you don't know what you're talking about, and you believe ridiculous shit without any sort of evidence whatsoever. Just understand that. That's where we are on that. But no matter what is presented, like, they have no evidence, and then there's a lot of evidence against that. Now, there are some things that we don't know for sure that I think are going to be answered at trial that I will agree with you on. And there's some anomalies that haven't been answered yet in this. But just to reject everything just because it comes from the government is silly on its face.
It's silly on its face. And I'm a big true crime follower. I mean, that's mostly the kind of podcasts I listen to and the kind of stuff I watch. It's either cult documentaries or true crime documentaries. And I'm kind of fascinated by the fact that a lot of these people following her, they act as if the trial's already happened. I'm like, are you not even going to wait to see the case that the state presents? I'd like to see that first before you demand that I have an opinion about this. Like, they don't care. Like you said, they don't care what happens at the trial because they already don't care about the facts. Like she said, she thought the text messages were on Discord and they don't care about any of it. They think that the defense attorney is a fake. They probably think he's a clone. I don't know. Like none of it's real. And so.
Real quick, I did want to tell the audience what we'll do here in about 4 minutes is we'll take 10 minutes before we live stream Erica's interview, and we'll answer some questions. I'm going to prioritize super chats. We will try to get some of those other ones in there. I already see the super chats in there, folks. I will address those. Thank you. Some of those were very kind. Some of those not so much, but it's fine. We'll get to all of them. And yeah. So and then we'll watch the interview and then we'll see where we're at. We may continue this discussion and then maybe we'll do some, I don't know, maybe we'll be here till 2 a.m. I heard she was, Keri's down with anything. So no, I'm just joking. We won't keep you here that long.
I'd rather not go till 2 a.m. Let me just make that.
Me neither.
Please.
Me neither.
That's the joke my husband always does. He's a musician. He'll always be like, and thank you. I'll be back after a short break. We'll be here till 4 a.m. And people are like, what?
What would you say to some of the folks out there? And look, I do not, number one, I don't have any sort of hatred or animus toward Candace. I think that Candace is completely redeemable. I think she is a powerful voice of this country. She's made for social media. Like she is. She's very compelling. She's good at what she does. I'm very disappointed in what she's doing. And I think that what she's doing is not only damaging to our country, it's damaging to the politics and principles that I believe in. I think, look, I started this whole journey because I was such a huge Charlie Kirk fan. I was deeply affected by his assassination. I couldn't believe that this could happen in the United States. And I do think that she is destroying his legacy. Yeah. He created one of the most powerful conservative movements and a revival amongst our youth with conservatism. And she has shit all over that. And that's why that we need to stop this, call this out. The other thing too is the other thing that I find contemptuous is she's accuses all these people of these horrific things. And then she says, all you got to do, it's blackmail. I posted this on X today. It's blackmail. All you got to do is prove to me that you didn't do these things and I'll quit slandering you, is basically what she's saying. And like everybody in this country should be like, stop. We condemn that. That is not what we do in the United States. That is not a principle on which this country is founded. You're innocent until proven guilty. And yeah, that is her freedom of speech. She has the freedom to do that until she gets sued. And then that's a whole nother thing. And I think that's common, by the way. But with that being said, we should be self-regulating our rights, right? Like just because you have the Second Amendment rights, which I think we have, I truly believe that we have, I'm like, we should have no regulations on firearms. I don't think we should just be out shooting randomly, right? Like you need some self-regulation. And that's what we used to do. I remember as a kid growing up in the 80s and 90s, like you'd accuse somebody of something, even the minor things, like, do you have any proof of that? Don't be accusing people of that. So what would you say? I don't know, like, what would you say to somebody that is kind of caught up in this? Maybe they don't self-realize this and kind of help them self-identify with what's going on, I guess.
You and I probably differ on this. Out of all the cults that I've looked into, I do not want to have anything to do with the candy cultists. Generally, I find that I can talk to almost anyone. My husband laughs about that. Like, it doesn't matter. Even if they hate my guts, I'm usually pretty I can kind of talk to almost anyone. I can't talk to them. For me, I think it's because, like I said, they have a lot of the malice and deceit that she has, and some of the woke leftists are like that. That's true. There's some of the woke leftists I won't talk to, but here's what I would say about them. This is a piece of scripture that I think they need to pay attention to, and this is from. It's funny because this bit of scripture, for a long time, I thought about this, came to mind about the woke left cult, because the woke left cult, similar to Candace's cult, is mostly made up by women, the gullible women that are referenced in Second Timothy. And so here's the portion of Second Timothy that I think is applicable. But understand this, that in the last days there will come times of difficulty, for people will be lovers of self, lovers of money, proud, arrogant, abusive, disobedient to their parents, ungrateful, unholy, heartless, unappeasable, slanderous, without self-control, brutal, not loving good, treacherous, reckless, swollen with conceit, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, having the appearance of godliness, but denying its power. Avoid such people. It tells us point blank, avoid such people. For among them are those who creep into households and capture gullible women, burdened with sins and led astray by various passions, always learning but never able to arrive at the truth.
Wow.
Like that's what she's that verse is about. To me, it's about a lot of different kinds of cults, but in particular because it's specifically talking about the kind of cults that prey on women, gullible women. It makes me think of the woke left, and it makes me think of the candy cult. And I've interacted with a lot of her cult followers. You know, she clipped me, and so they came and found me, probably 1,000 of them over the past month, maybe more. And they're all just the same. They're full of malice. They say the most disgusting things. And then you click on their profile and it's like they have kids. They wear Christianity like a mask the way she does. They have a Bible verse on their bio. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
I'm disgusted by such people. So I don't have the same answer. I actually don't try to engage with them. I try to tell other people what they're about. But I'm kind of like, I pray that you leave the cult, but you can do it far away from me. I don't want you anywhere near me. I don't think you're necessarily a safe person to know. So that's how I view it. I'm sorry if that's disappointing.
No. I mean, that's how you feel about it. I mean, it is
Yeah.
what it is. Real quick, folks, we'll go through some questions. I'll try to get as many as I can in the next 7 or 8 minutes, and then we will switch over to the live stream, and we'll see how long Keri wants to hang out with us. If just suddenly she's gone, she's gone. You know, once she was here, then she was raptured away from us. All right. ZX, he said, number one, thank you, buddy. She dethroned Rogan with this grift. You got to know what she's doing it for. Yeah, like, she's definitely making money. Look, she's definitely at a minimum, she's making 6 figures a month plus. I got to be honest with you. I don't think it's the money. I do think it's the power and the influence. I think that's what she kind of craves. The fact that she's doing the job all you YouTubes should be doing. Okay, I disagree with this. All right, she's not actually doing anything. What she's doing is she's staying behind a camera. She's putting a lot of stuff out. She's speculating a lot. She's obfuscating a lot of facts. She's like, I talk to these people all the time, and like they don't know the basic facts. They have been led astray, and they only see the picture that she's painted. And on top of that, what we should be doing is getting on the ground. Again, I'm not trying to toot my own horn. I'm just saying that if you're sincere about this, you would go to that place. What I did was pay for a 3D drone scan so that I can give out a free that cost tens of thousands of dollars, by the way. Not just me, CJ Cavanti, he put it together. He has hundreds and hundreds of hours. He had engineers working on this thing. We gave that to everybody for free so you can manipulate the whole thing. It's on my X account. Like, go there, talk to people. Like, all the steps that are basic steps of an investigation, she's not taking those steps. She's not talking to people on the ground. Every time that I've talked about eyewitnesses and stuff like that, and I've had eyewitnesses, again, we have Henry Dell, his entire testimony of when he was there. He was the first person to ask Charlie a question. He happened to be there when I was at UVU. He was there with TPUSA, their local branch, doing interviews and stuff. I happened to be there. There was a bunch of other YouTubers there. It's amazing the things that'll happen. Like if you go there and put in the footwork and put in the work, and immediately, instead of listening to him, like any of these people that don't reinforce what they believe, instead of taking in new information, analyzing it, they immediately castigate the person. Like, he's an op, he's this, he's that. Like, if you don't get your opinions, like that's not how this works. Like I had some ideas at the beginning of this, the body armor. All right. And I was trying to disprove that. All right. And I did. All right. And as soon as I said, hey, you know what? I was wrong about that. I was looking for confirmation that it was wrong. And as a matter of fact, I was just thinking about this today. I was sent I had sources early on telling me they had proof that that Charlie Kirk was indeed wearing body armor. I'll show that. I'm going to put that in the next video, by the way. And I didn't share those because it was second or third hand. I was like, man, I'm tempted to use this. This would reinforce that I'm right. But that's not what you do. When you have a theory, you try to prove it wrong. And that's not what's happening. So anyways, I disagree that's what she's doing at all. She's staying behind a computer and she's making a bunch of money and she's coming up with some really cool narratives. And she's sharing her dreams and feels and vibes with you. And that's what she's doing. And she's a success at it. Hit that like button. Thank you, Rage Bronson. I was the same as Keri from Los Angeles, drug addicted mom, default dim, out of the army in 2013. I thought Trump was nuts. Then YouTube accidentally showed me the truth. It broke me. 3 days watching speeches, MAGA sense.
MAGA sense. Woohoo. Woo.
Gary, you're making a difference. YouTube is not sending me your notifications. That's normal. They're not a friend of ours. They've pulled our live stream off twice for no reason. I was off YouTube for a week. None of this stuff is happening to the Candace crowd. I just want to point that out. Anyways, thank you very much. Thank you. Do you think they did a good investigation if you went to UVU on the roof and you could see Tyler Robinson's fingerprints? Well, we couldn't see his fingerprints. We could see the smear marks in the siding. So siding, like that metal siding, gets that dust on there, and you could still see that. They had the place locked down for 3 full days. I was told, I'm sure this was by local sources, and I'm sure there's some exaggeration here, but there was hundreds of FBI agents, Utah agents. Maybe there was, but they had the place locked down 3 days, 24/7. They had people processing that entire area. So yeah, I do think they did a good job because we could still see smear marks on the siding. You don't think they did a good job? I don't think that makes logical sense to me. And we could do a whole podcast. I think we need to go through all the facts again. We need to share, clear up. There's still a bunch of misunderstandings and confusion that I know where those sources come from. It's intentional. You're lucky we still think you were redeemable. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. You and Jesus both.
1 second. I just have to let my dog out. He heard my husband.
Oh, it's okay. Go ahead. I'll hit these questions and we'll start streaming this interview. I think Candace has a good heart, but she's heard things from people that made her crazy. Also, her friend died, so she wants answers. But she's gone in any direction she can without grounded evidence and thought. Lyle, Lear girl, popping in late. But did y'all see that Candace's husband's birthday was changed online? Yes, I did. To December 15th to add weight to why she won't go to Arizona, but UK government records and her show and her honor show say it was July 7th. Verified myself. Yeah, so this was interesting. It wasn't actually, and I had to kind of run this down. It wasn't Candace that first put that out, that it was her husband's birthday. It was Ian Carroll.
Yeah.
And so Ian Carroll first said that. And then, yes, some of her sycophants went and changed the date on Wikipedia. While I will say it isn't Candace herself that said that, Ian Carroll and several other folks in her orbit that are her proxies, they don't do much without her permission. And I don't think that tweet is gone as of now, but
by the way, if there's doubt about her husband's birthday, that must prove that he's really a man. Okay, that's a Macron joke. Never mind.
Yes, I know. I'm tracking. Body of Christ was united. Candace divided with strife. I agree. Bronson has a question for Keri. Peanut butter on French toast, yes or no?
Why not? It sounds good. I've never done it, but
Psycho. I posted we were in Fort Worth, and I posted a breakfast photo, and this psycho comes on here and is like, "Dude, I don't need peanut butter on there." I'm like, "You don't put peanut butter on French toast?" Dear God. Let me ask you this. Have you ever put peanut butter on French toast?
I've never done it, but now I gotta try.
You're still redeemable. There are crime scene cleanup teams. They wouldn't leave dust marks of the assassin in the biggest case ever. Like, you've watched CSI? Like, why would they? Like, that doesn't even make sense to me. You don't know that, Laura. You don't. I mean, I just, like, you don't know that. And I don't even know what is the allegation here that they missed it? Because, by the way, there's pictures of those smear marks where they have markers by it. Stephen Gardner put those out. So they noted them. They had markers by them. That's how we knew where they were. And yes, they were still there because we were there like 2-3 weeks after the whole thing. So, I mean, they definitely logged them. That's a fact. All right. And there's pictures of that. Candace loves those timeline videos. You can make one debunking hers. Absolutely. Well, it's time. All right. So we're going to switch over to this real quick and let's see what's going on. Let me make sure I have it up real quick. We got Sean Hannity and Eric Kirk. We're going to play this live. Let me sure.
To work with President Trump to apprehend criminal illegal immigrants. Well, Zoran Kami, Marxist Mamdani, is now teaching illegals how to stand up to ICE.
I am very curious to see what
threat level increase against ICE
what she actually says tonight. I'm curious to see if she's actually going to address. I'll turn this up in just a second here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really want to listen to Mamdani. Got any thoughts on what you think she might? Do you think she's going to address Candace directly, Keri, or what's your thoughts on that?
I don't think she will. If she does address it, she probably won't mention her by name. She'll just address, people who say this and do, because I think that she knows what Candace is. Candace, in my opinion, is total cluster B personality disorder. And if you've ever had, like you mentioned, the kind of threats that she does, where she basically accuses people, lots of innocent people, of murder, and then she says, "Prove that you're not," which is it's telling you to prove a negative. It's like, when did you stop beating your wife? It's
Right.
the loaded question fallacy. She does that all the time, and she asks people to prove a negative all the time. And the thing with a narcissist is when they make these accusations, like she made this I thought it was so gross when she said, "If Erica wants me to stop, she'll have to tell me to." That's demanding attention, and that was in the first week or two after he'd been murdered. You want this widow to interrupt her grief process to give you the narcissistic supply that you want, your control games, to address you? That's sick. Nobody should do that. And all the narcissism experts say you don't address them. You don't give them supply. That's part of the reason Turning Point ignored her for a long time. I'm glad they finally did address it in that one video, but you're not supposed to, even if Erica had contacted her and said, "Stop it," she's not going to stop. Then she'll share those text messages and be like, "Look, I knew she was blah, blah, blah." It doesn't stop. The narcissistic abuse doesn't stop. So I think she'll be smart not to name her. Don't give her that bit of that thrill of being, getting the attention she wants.
Another clip that she can play falling down. Thomas Nader said, "Erica is a good person, but I heard some things about that I don't agree with, but that's okay." Now, so this is a good point here. That I know that Candace is not said anything directly. I also know there's people, again, within her orbit, all right, her proxies, that have gone after Candace. And these are people that I know for a fact, and they retweet each other all the time. I know what's going on. This is attacks of Erica by, with, and through by Candace, but through other people. That's what's going on. I'm telling you that for a fact. And who thought anything ill of Erica before he was killed? Nobody thought anything ill of Erica. There was no deep dive into her and all this other stuff that's going on. That was because of Candace and her followers. And her followers hate Erica. That's a fact.
And the left.
Yeah. And the left hates her too. Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of overlap there. And the thing that Candace and the left have in common is they want Trump administration to fail, and they want whether they say it or not, they want Biden 2.0 in the White House in 2028. That's where all this is going for sure. So you can say whatever you want. It is what it is.
Can I add something to this
Yeah,
thing
whatever
about
you want.
the thing about how a narcissist demands attention and you have to address them no matter, even if your husband's just been assassinated and your children have lost their father, you have to give them the attention they want. You can look at how Candace responded to people that did comply with her demands. She made lots of demands that Josh Hammer and Bibi Netanyahu and others address her. It's share this thing. If what I'm saying is not true, prove this negative, right? Like post the full letter, or tell us what the retreat in the Hamptons was really about. And when people did address her and said, actually, here's what happened at the Hamptons, here's this full letter, here's this, if they did comply with her demands, she mocked them for doing so. Like, if they didn't comply, that's evidence that everything I'm saying is true. And if they do comply and give evidence to contradict you, then she laughs and says, look at how long this is. There must be some truth to what I'm saying, because it's that so sick. Like, you can't win with a narcissist. You can't give them the attention.
Yeah.
Yes, I am. And you know what? It's not technically a diagnosis because I'm not a psychiatrist. All I'm doing is noticing traits. You're an adult. You can do the same. Sorry. I don't have any patience for that crap.
You just saw that person steal something, or you're going to diagnose them as a thief?
Anybody can check out books about borderline personality disorder, narcissistic personality disorder. I've spent a lot of time reading about it. You can do the same. You're an adult. It's so childish. Oh, we're all children. You can't recognize patterns of behavior or traits. I don't get that.
Her husband is a Bowlington club boy. Look, I kind of think, I was talking to somebody today about Candace's husband, and look, they with a 17-day whirlwind romance, suddenly she marries or is engaged to this, millionaire from overseas. What I find a little nutso is how the Candace cult has dissected and analyzed everything to do with Charlie Kirk and Erica. And, they're bringing up all these connections and all, fine, whatever. Guarantee you those same people will not do the same thing with I do see as a suspicious, weird, arranged thing going on. I don't know. I don't know what I do know is that it's a distraction. I don't need to even delve into that, because there's so much proof that Candace is lying with her own words, with her own videos, the contradictions that she's made, the information that she has intentionally omitted. Like, I want to stay focused on her. I don't care what is going on with her husband. I don't care if he's, Satan himself and whatever else. I want to focus on the person that is putting out the disinformation. Yeah. Right-wing gun nut says, I'm not gonna show this. Fine. Gary, how can the city not be sued for defamation? She's talking about Candace. I think she can be sued.
Oh, I thought you were talking about me.
No. She's talking about I know who this is. Yeah. So anyways, there's that. Look, I think she can be, and I think
the Macrons are suing her.
Well, there's other people gearing up to sue her too. MLK Jr. was hit with 158 Great round 30-06, a 69-yard bullet went to his face and ended up in his shoulder, no exit wound. Thanks to you and guest. Yeah. So like, we can spend a whole night talking about the ballistics. And I'll be happy to do that. Look, that's what I do. I'm telling you right now, there's a lot of weird things that always happens with ballistics. What I will also tell you is that is clearly a 30-06 round, not exiting, whether we're talking about MLK or we're talking about Charlie Kirk. It is without a doubt an atypical result. That does not mean that you throw out everything because there's an atypical result. The other thing that we don't know, everything that we need to know about that bullet to make a determination of what we would expect the terminal ballistic result to be. We need to know the type of ammo. Was it hand loaded? Was it factory ammo? What type of ammo was it? When it comes to, there's varmint ammunition, there's low recoil ammunition. 30-06 was once in the United States one of the most ubiquitous cartridges on the planet. There are literally hundreds of different types of ammo and different variables to each of those categories. And to sit there and say something stupid like, we have this ammo over here and we have this entire spectrum of ammunition that's available commercially, much less if we get into hand loads, then we open up Pandora's box. And that you would expect the exact same results from this end of the spectrum to this end of the spectrum. And then there's just the fact that ballistics are just weird sometimes. That's a fact. Like this last long range course that we put on, we had ammo that was just going out. It wasn't us. A student had some ammo, had 6 millimeter. It was 6 millimeter Creedmoor. Like every 10th round or so that he would shoot, the bullet would go out and it would just explode about 50 yards in front, outside the muzzle. I've seen lots of weird things happen with ammunition. So there's just lots of variables. We don't know how it was stored. We don't know if his grandfather made a bunch of hand loads. Specifically, that's what he was shooting and that's what he grabbed. Like there's so many and we don't know any of the information that we need to even sort of guess with this. So for all of you that have recently discovered that you're a ballistics expert, and my Papaw's rifle was a 30-06 and blow a man clean in half. And that's what you sit there and say in the comments. You sound silly. You don't know what you're talking about. And that's just a fact. So there's that whole thing. I'm keeping an eye on Hannity. We still don't have Erica over there. I will get some more of these lives chats going on.
I think I saw you address also the fact that she tweeted something at Tim Pool about, hey, make sure that the cops come and collect the evidence from the shooting. Yeah, duh. And then she said something about how once you get the bullet fragments, you can trace it back to the shooter.
Yeah.
What?
Well, first of all, what she did was give some unsolicited advice, like she was, Inspector Clouseau. Like, hey, make sure you guys get those bullets because they hit something. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
We understand Newtonian physics. They definitely, every bullet ever fired from a gun hit something. And then you're supposed to recover it so that they can trace the owner or whatever. She said something stupid. Like you got to have the gun too.
You have to have the gun.
I don't know how people take her seriously. I really don't. Yeah. I'm looking for some good comments over here. That's kind of a mean comment. I'm not going to put that up. It's mean towards Candace. I'm not going to. I agree with this statement. Candace constantly debunks herself. And if you are listening with a discerning ear, you'll see that. This is another fair point, I believe. She says, MK says, and she can blame the Jews for everything bad in the world, but she never looks at Catholicism. I agree with that. Look, Catholicism has a lot to account for, both historically and in the present. So,
and she never looks at, she's promoted porn peddlers like the Tate brothers.
Yeah.
But then wants to say that porn is completely the fault of Jews. And it's like, well, you had a Muslim on and promoted him and praised him.
Yeah.
Who's a pornographer.
I agree. Don't forget, she said she told Charlie she had an overwhelming spiritual urge to travel to England, and boom, she gets married instantaneously. I've never heard that. I don't know if that's true.
She said that.
Okay. Yeah, I actually have never heard that. Look, she is being very sly. I think she slipped up several times at this point, though. Yeah. She is, and this is another, to me, another indicator of deception. She's just asking questions. I think she's been emboldened by the last 3 months, and she's definitely said some things that, number one, for anyone to say that it's not an accusation, you're being disingenuous at best. They are accusations, and no matter what, you say, because look, you can read her comments and you can see what everybody watching her show is walking away from, the conclusion that they've come to, that they've been guided to by her. She doesn't have to say it, but she has said things like, hey, look, Charlie was killed and the people around him, his friends, had to approve it. She said several other things along those lines that I think if any jury was to, or any judge for that matter, was to take the totality of the claims that she's made, there's no other conclusion that you can come to that she is blaming TPUSA for not only the murder. She switched it today. It was one of the worst things I ever had to watch, but I watched today Russell Brand. I was expecting something different, I guess. Russell Brand talked to her today. And, you know, even on today, she basically backed away from TPUSA, saying that they actually had him killed. And what she said in this one was that she thinks they're complicit in the cover-up. So even that alone, number one, if you're covering up the murder, that alone is a direct accusation of a crime that I think she's going to be held account to for that. But again, the totality of everything that she said, I think can be easily presented and say, hey, look, this is defamation, and there's no way around it. Candace doesn't care what happens to our country. She will just leave with all of her millions. Tim Pool has predicted that she will lose her lawsuit against the Macrones. Yeah, you know, I've seen what she's alleged to Macrones. I very quickly went through the Macrones lawsuit. I went through like a summary of the lawsuit. She has alleged some things that, and look, I don't want. Look, when she came out with the fact, I've been hearing rumors for a couple of years that Brigitte Macron was actually a dude. Mm-hmm. And when she started reporting on all this, I was like, oh, this is good. I love it. Like, I don't know if it's true or not. I really don't. But I was hoping it was. And I was willing to like kind of jump in and entertain. And I wanted to be entertained by this whole thing and see how this played out and see what information. So even before the whole Charlie Kirk thing, I was following her to some degree on the Brigitte Macron. And I watched a couple of the episodes. I'm like, I thought she did the same thing. Like, oh, we got evidence. And I was like, wait, that's not actually evidence. That's not really what that's a bunch of circumstances that you're interpreting. Mm-hmm. And you're bending them to what you believe to be going on. And it's even then I was like, when I was on her side, I'm like, that's not evidence. I don't know what you consider evidence, but that's not what I consider evidence.
I watched some of that and I was disappointed.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you don't have anything. Okay.
Slayer Princess, thank you very much. Asking questions, investigating is fine. And there's a way to do that without deciding that you know who it is. And your goal is to pin it on everybody you don't like. Yeah, it's really strange how like we start off with this. We got all this evidence that this, trans supporting furry gay guy kills Charlie Kirk. And then somehow it leads back to Israel and the Macrones. I mean, really, when you sit back and you look at the trajectory of that, where it's like, what? Like,
and Jerry,
Israel and the Macrones. That's weird.
Don't forget the bee cult in Utah, and also don't forget the Egyptians and the guys wearing maroon.
The people wearing maroon. I mean, it's like I don't even know what to say with some of that stuff. It is really, really bizarre. I see that Sean Hannon, I think he's coming back from break, and then I think he's going to get into the Erica thing. Yeah, I saw this today too. Tim Pool just told his audience the 19th might be the last episode of Timcast IRL after death threats. Hopefully that's not true. Then the terrorists win. I don't know. Notice how she suddenly stopped talking about Brigitte. I think she finally took the cease and desist seriously. I know she keeps trying to have that thrown out. When she was on Tucker Carlson, I watched that whole interview with her and Tucker, and she was like, nope, I'm not going to try to get this stopped because I want discovery. And yet here we are several months later, and she's trying to get that lawsuit thrown out. So she talked a big game, while she was on Tucker. And when I watched that interview, I was a huge Candace fan. I was really interested to see what they had to say about all that.
She talked a big game about answering questions with TPUSA too. And name the time, name the place. I'll be there. We can do it tonight. We don't need lawyers. And the next day, I can't do it. Then how dare you ask me to come at that time and date?
Yeah, that time and that place doesn't really work for me.
And also, how dare you?
Yeah.
How dare you do what I suggested? Sorry.
And then seeing her supporters, her members, like fall all over themselves trying to justify that and make sense of that. Like, oh, they could have sent her an email and like they could have been courteous to her. Essentially, like she has shown no mercy, no empathy, no sympathy toward any of the other victims in all of this, which TPUSA, everybody involved is a victim of this. And she has been on such a malicious, destructive path with these people. It is like her complete lack of sympathy toward these people is
It's
quite shocking.
cruel.
It really is. And I don't, and that's the thing is like, if you say, hey, she's lying, if you say she's lying, it's like, don't attack her. And you know, you were talking about this earlier. It is weird. Somehow Candace is the only person I know, like she's always straddling the hero and the victim line. Like she's like both at the same time. And I don't quite, it's amazing to watch for sure.
You know what to go back to the cluster B thing for a moment, a lot of that is that's what they call, if it helps to understand it better, the covert narcissist, which is they're kind of like cry bullies. They're like, everyone's always, it's everyone else, it's not me. Everyone's attacking me. And also I'm the best person in the world. It's like a lot of grandiose narcissism paired with this cry bully behavior. The left does this too. They're always the victim while they're beating you, you know, but they're the victim. She does a lot of that. She attacks people mercilessly, impugns their character. Charlie's pastors.
Yeah.
You know, his widow, his friends. I find it revolting.
Yeah, look, anybody that says anything other than that Charlie would be disgusted by her actions, you're lying to yourself. I mean, Matt K. Axel says, when is Gary on Timcast? Look, I number one, Tim, look, we live in the same town. We're here in Martinsburg. I've never met him, don't know him. I'd love to have him on. I don't even want to go on his show. I would love to have him on my show. And I would also like to pick his brain about, like, you know, I don't know, his success, how he does it, the things that he does well. Like Tim Pool is one of the most successful. I don't agree with him on everything. But I do like his very objective analysis of things. And most of the things that he says, I do tend to agree with. And, you know, so it is what it is. Pat Brooks, thank you for becoming a new member. Folks, if you want to support us, you can become a member. Again, hey, you know what? Here's a good time. Look, we're still waiting on Sean Hannity. Apparently, this is going to be like a 20-minute interview. I thought it was going to be a whole hour. Right now is a good time to go down the description below and go follow Keri. I have her YouTube, her Facebook, her X accounts linked down below. So go give her a follow. Go support her work. Same thing with me. If you're not following me on X, you're not following us on Instagram. I don't do a lot of stuff on Instagram, but I do post there from time to time. Mainly on X. I'm trying to figure the whole X thing out. I do think that X is going to end up moving. I'm hoping that they start doing more video stuff and become a real competitor to YouTube. The moment that I can get off of YouTube, we get 10 times the amount of views here. I still post to Rumble. Normally anything I post to YouTube, I post to Rumble, but we get more than 10 times, hundreds of times more views. But they are a censor machine for sure.
They gave big channel strikes back during COVID, you know.
This is kind of what I asked you earlier, but let's just break that down to a more general. Basically what Keri said earlier in the Candace cult, what you want to do is you want to stop, drop, and roll and get away as far as possible.
That's my personal choice.
I'm on fire. Get away from me.
Look, it's
Jason,
my personal
tell me.
choice, and I fully recognize, because if you're a person in the chat who has had experience with a cluster B individual who's targeted you and sent flying monkeys after you, and like you get it. Like I don't like those. It's more about the personality disorder stuff than it is about politics for me. I don't like flying monkey behavior, and so for me, that's my choices. I'm like, just get away from me. I've learned that you're dangerous people. But for you, I'll tell you the advice I usually give people who are asking about the leftist cult and have lost family members of the leftist cult. If you care about them and you love them and you want to maintain that connection, you can't be a doormat. You definitely have to say what the truth is, what you think the truth is. Don't just accept everything they're saying to get along, right? Like tell them the truth, but say it with love, and don't try to win the argument, because that's what they want. Is they want you to get into this back and forth, proving a negative, tit for tat. What about this Egyptian play? It doesn't matter. You're not going to convince them with any facts. So just stay to the broad bullet points of, I think you're very misguided. I think that you're not looking at, the facts of the case, or talk about her tactics that you don't like. But I love you and I'm here for you. And even if they cut contact, let them know that you love them and that you'll always be there. That's the advice I give to people whose family members on the left cut contact. Is Erica live?
Yep, she is live. We will. No, that's good advice. Yeah, don't back down from the truth. I think, and that is one thing that I will say. It's odd. I engage with. They ask me a direct question. I give them proof of my answer, and they immediately pivot to like, "Oh, what about this?" It's always what about ism. So let's see what Erica has to say. Let me get this audio up a little louder. I don't know.
Then all of a sudden,
What is going on with
moments where you just like the reality hits you. He's not coming home.
Right. The permanency, I will always struggle with the permanency. It's a love of my life. I still talk to him every single day as if.
Can you guys hear that? How's that audio? Is that too low?
It's very low.
Okay, hold on. Let me get over here and boost it up a little bit. I don't know what's going on. It won't give me the options that I need to increase it.
Again, the permanency will never settle in.
We talked a little about this on radio today, but when you think of heaven, and as a Christian, I believe in heaven, Jesus on the cross says to a person to his left, this day you will be with me in paradise. The eye have not seen, the ear have not heard, nor has it entered into the heart of man what God has in store for those who love the truth. I say at the end of my show, hope once in a while, let not your heart be
here we go.
troubled.
Yes.
But the verse goes on, in my Father's house are many mansions.
Amen.
And I go to prepare a place for you, so that where I am, you shall also be.
Amen.
Does that give you comfort?
It does.
Those words?
And my daughter and I, we've talked about this at night. She would ask, what do you think Daddy did today in heaven? And I'll have her relay that back to me. Or, we've come to the understanding, and I've tried to explain this to her, that Daddy's still with us. He's just in a different location, and he's building us a home in heaven. And I've said this before, but she said, I can't wait to go. I said, me too, baby. Me too.
This is an amazing message. I actually I was reading the book, as you can tell.
I'm the same way.
I tore up Charlie's book.
I'm the same way.
But I read every page of it. First of all, he's a biblical scholar, which was beyond impressive.
Phenomenal.
I mean, I would think any scholar would be impressed by the scholarship behind this. The second thing that stood out about this is, wow, what a powerful message that he's sending. Turn off your phone Friday night at sunset. Don't turn it back on till Saturday night at sunset. I think that it could be shocking to most people. How did it work in your life?
Well, let me just explain first how much time and effort went into this book. Charlie he didn't write this book without doing what he's talking about in this book. That's not the way he operates. He learned as much as he could about this topic. We have over 50 books on our bookshelf about the Sabbath. He wanted to know it so deeply, and he saw the fruit of what it was like to actually detach from the world, stop the noise, stop the scrolling, and just put pause on everything and focus on your family. And he was, at first, you know, it was started with an hour, 2 hours, but then once he fully incorporated it into his life, he totally elevated. He became a next level husband, which I didn't even think was possible because he was already so incredible to me and the babies. But I saw how this changed his life. And it's something so simple, just turning your phone off or detaching from TV or your daily life and just taking a minute to pause and breathe and understanding how important family is and putting into perspective the battle's already won. Just love on what the Lord has blessed you with.
He talked about how that's real rest.
It is.
And
It is.
And that means not watching television, binge watching. It means present with your family, present with
your family,
God.
present with the Lord. Rest your brain, rest your heart, rest your soul. We're not machines. We're humans. We have souls. We are here to make a difference. And if you can't hear from the Lord, if you're being inundated constantly from other people trying to take your attention away from what the ultimate goal is, how are you able to make decisions for your family and for your company and for XYZ if you are so inundated with whatever the enemy wants you to have? I mean, we talked about this earlier, busyness. That's not the same as being productive.
The way you write that the way he writes it in the book is very powerful.
Very much so. There's a huge difference. We can get boggled down with to-do lists and thinking that that is productivity. It's actually not. Charlie was incredible with time management. And time on this earth is so limited. You and I both know that. And now we see it in Technicolor with what happened to my husband. But time is so precious. And so are you going to spend that time investing into your family, investing into the eternal thing?
You guys let me know how the volume is.
You will have in heaven, or are you going to waste that time getting in internet debates and, you know, going down rabbit holes?
You know, when you were on the radio show today, I asked you to read a passage because I thought it would be better coming from you. And it was the Sabbath is not just a nice idea. It's not just a day of rest for the religious or nostalgic. The Sabbath is God's answer to a culture spinning out of control. And it is his ancient rhythm and sanity planted like an anchor in a world swept away by currents and chaos. And he said, 6 days we work, build, engage. On the seventh day, we stop, not because we're weak.
Not weak.
We stop because we're human. I mean, he's 31 years old. And that's way more profound than I think anything I could say.
He did not just write this book, he lived it. So when you feel something so deeply and you've experienced it and you lived it, you want to be able to tell other people, look, this will change your life. I know it might sound simple, but sometimes the best answers are the most simple ones. It is truth. And our whole team knew on days where he didn't get a full Sabbath and did, because he just was so locked in, and he just, again, was the most incredible man. But this just took him to a whole new level. And it was in a way where you would look at him and be like, whatever you're doing, I want to do. And he's like, here. And this is his final message. This is what I'm trying to express to people. This is Charlie's last book. So people can write books all about my husband and what he believed and what he said and analyze his videos. These are his words. And when you read them, you feel him come to life. It's powerful.
It is very powerful. And it really caused me, as I read it, again, I read the whole thing, and
I'll be honest, I can't read the last few pages. I'm not there yet. It's just emotionally, because once this book is done, it's done.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, everybody thinks we should all mourn a certain way.
Right.
Okay, well, until you walk a mile in someone else's shoes, don't lecture people.
100%.
Because, I grew up in an Irish family. In one corner of the room, there's people pretty wasted. They're drinking heavily. Another corner of the room, there's people crying. Another corner of the room, they're telling jokes about the person that died. Then there's the two people that can't stop touching the dead body, which used to freak me out. But people mourn differently. I felt at one point in this book, man, I felt like this lecture was just for me, but it really, I think, applies to everyone. I related to it. He gives you, it's sort of like a salesperson overcoming objections.
Right.
He gives you every excuse your mind can think of not to do this.
100%.
And I'm like, check, check, check.
Right. You don't have
the
time.
president may call.
Right, exactly.
You
You
know?
don't have time to do this. You
Yeah.
have kids' soccer games. No, he goes through all of it. And he says respectfully, it's making adjustments, not excuses.
Yeah. After all this happened, I knew Charlie more on the political side of him, but the most important part of Sean Hannity is the personal, private side that has been hesitant, never wanted to proselytize. And especially as I've gotten older, my faith has grown stronger and stronger. And after this happened and he was assassinated, Ainsley, for example, and myself started watching videos of the two of you.
Yeah.
And one really stood out about how Charlie would always ask you and you would ask him how you can serve each other. In a lot of marriages that go wrong, it's, well, she won't, he won't, horrible cook, whatever. Right. I want to play a little of that.
Sweet.
Charlie and I check in with each other every single day. How can I serve you better? What can I do for you to make it better when you get home? Is there anything that you need me to have ready for you when you come back from the office or this trip, XYZ? He asks me the same thing if I'm out doing something or even if I'm out with the kids. What can I do? How can I make your day better? You're a team and you guys are not at ends with each other. Work together, communicate, and grow together as equally yoked partnership.
I think there's a lot of deep meaning in that and a lot of lessons for couples to learn. Can you give us more detail? What did it mean for you to serve him and for him to serve you? Because I often joke, why did they take away love, honor, obey? I'm kidding. I'm not Bam Bam. I'm not Fred Flintstone. But what did it mean
Should we
to you?
talk a little bit
What it
and
meant to
pause
me
it
was
so
that
you don't
he
get
actually genuinely
Oh, yeah.
cared about how he could
point.
improve himself as a husband. Not
And this is actually a good time to do that. Hold on.
This is my favorite part about what he talked about, by the way.
Go ahead. Send it.
Well, I mean, the stuff about the family, the thing about Charlie is that he really lived his Christian beliefs. There's a lot of people who say, the Bible, Jesus, he talked about false shepherds and he talked about whitewashed tombs and a nest of vipers. He talked about fakers all the time and how to avoid them and what to look for and how to look for good fruit. And there's a lot of people who wear the name of Christ, but you wouldn't know it if they didn't tell you. But Charlie wore it. Like he lived his faith, meaning he put his beliefs into practice. You saw it in the fruit of his life, how much he valued his wife, his marriage, his children. And I think he talked about all the politics stuff when he went to college campuses, right? We all have seen the videos, but I think the most impactful stuff, the stuff I love the most, is when he talked about marriage and fatherhood and the importance of like the things that really matter. Like she says, the eternal things.
I agree. And, I think that was one of the magic things I think that's why Charlie resonated with so many people, is that he was a genuine, sincere Christian.
Yes.
And he was an inspiration to me. And I'll tell you, we had, I've always been a believer. And, for a long time, we went to church regularly and we didn't like the local church. We kind of were finding another church. And then we got busy with the business for a couple of years. And I remember us talking about, as soon as Charlie was killed, my kids were like, and we were talking about this, my 15-year-old, 11-year-old, and they were like, Daddy, we should go to church. I'm like, you're right, man. We should be going to church regularly. And so we have been ever since. And yeah, like I wish that I lived my faith as well as Charlie did and does. And that's something that I'm trying to get better at. And use this platform as not only one thing that I've always done. The whole point of this YouTube channel is to make Americans independent and self-reliant, whether we're talking about self-defense, whether we're talking about the politics, whether we're talking about all the things that we talk about in this channel ever since it has existed, which normally falls under the conservative mindset and libertarian as well to some extent. But yeah, that's why he was so effective. He was real, and he was the real deal. And I've talked to people that know him behind the scenes, by the way, that are like, man, look, Charlie lived that way every day. I don't know what he did behind closed doors. I don't know what he did at his home, but as far as everything that I know and everything that I've heard, the evidence is that he was the real deal, and it's a real shame that we lost him.
And you can see them when they're on screen together, him and Erica, like they loved each other. And
Yeah.
her Instagram, people want to criticize her for doing a lot of posts about how much she loved Charlie. And that's what her Instagram was before he was murdered and taken from her. It's her whole feed is about how much she loved her family. Like these people loved each other. They lived their beliefs and they encouraged others to find Christ. And look, by the way, Gary, I love that you were like, we should go back to church. I know so many people. The thing about Charlie's murder, it's one of the most evil things that's ever happened in my lifetime. But look at what good God spun out of that evil thing. It's like that verse in Genesis, like you intended to harm me, but God intended it for good. Like all these people I know started going to church again. I know people, friends who got their first Bible. I bought a Bible for a friend who I never thought would be interested in. I know people who are suddenly they've seen the existence of evil, so they're contemplating whether good exists, and like all that is amazing. And that's why I think we see all this darkness rising, like all the Candace stuff and everything we're talking about, because the devil's butt is hurt because everybody's going back to church.
Yeah.
You know? So
No, and look, I have done my best, whether it was during COVID or whatever else, to speak out against lies, and that's what I do. And I've detested what I've sat and watched Candace do in the wake of all this, because we had such a moment. We had a week of this come together moment, and it crystallized that look, there's some real evil forces at play, and then Candace, being the one person that she is, had this tremendous negative effect. And I'm done with it. I'm done pretending it doesn't exist. It's definitely not going away. And it's one of those evils that I do think it's evil. And I think what she's doing is evil. I think it needs to be addressed head on. And Jim Bob, for real, I was placed in timeout on YouTube. What happened to free speech, Gary? Because it's against Erica. I don't know what you said, Jim, but you can take that up with our mods. This isn't a platform for free speech. All right. We're trying to have discussions here. And for those of you that are going to come on here and accuse me of taking Israel money, like I'm so sick of, I was telling Keri before this, like I am so sick of these mouth breathers talking about Zionist this, Zionist that. Like I've always been indifferent to Israel. I always have. I don't care. But like you guys make me want to go like convert to Judaism. I hate you people so much. Like I'm so sick of hearing about Zionism. Like
they're obsessed.
It's the same racist Nazi Zionist. You bought freaking like I'm just sick of it. You don't even affect me anymore. Fed Israel, like I'm just done with it. And so
Candace implied that I'm a Fed, by the way.
yeah, it's an ad hominem. It's lazy. They don't want to address the actual arguments you have. When they present a problem and you answer that problem, they pivot to something else. It's a tactic of cowards, and we're not going to do that on the show. We want to have real discussions, and we want to have real discussions with you. I want to include you people, and I want to include people that disagree with me, and let's iron sharpens iron. I believe that. I believe in discourse, but what I'm not going to do is you're not going to call people names, me or anybody else. I don't have to put up with that. This is my platform. I've put a lot of time and money into this. And like, if you don't want to engage in adult conversation, you're going to get banned, and you can go do it somewhere else. You can go in your echo chamber and you can go talk to Ian Carroll about how the Jews are the problem of the world. I'm not going to put up with it here on the show. I think that was enough to make sure we don't get a copyright strike, right?
Yeah. I just want to say my $7,000 checks finally arrived from the Jews, and I got myself the above ground swimming pool of my dreams, Golden Girls themed. I got some Golden Girls lounge chairs.
I'm double dipping with the Fed and the Jew money, so it's amazing. All right, let's hear what Erica has to say, and then we'll talk some more.
From the standpoint of, look at me, I'm better than you, but in the standpoint of, I want to serve you because I love you. And I want to make sure that I can be the provider that you need spiritually, emotionally, and every other way with the children. And we never looked at each other as competing roles. It was never from the standpoint of, well, you're the wife, you need to stay in XYZ, and I'm the husband and I go out. And it was always, we're a team. There was no daylight between us. He always told me about his day, everything that was going on with Turning Point USA, everything that he was up to, and vice versa. And that's why we were always in lockstep with the Lord. We were equally yoked when we got married, and we remained that way because our full focus and our full through line was the Lord. we had a fire at the covenant when we got married, and we made that covenant with the Lord. That was not something that was just, oh, this is so cute, we have a really beautiful wedding. No, this is a big deal. You found the love of your life. The Lord has been able to bring you guys together for a purpose and for a reason. And God is going to use your marriage in ways that will blow your mind. And yes, there is some pain in that. There is some deep pain. And people, not everyone will understand it. And I don't expect anyone else to. But the love that Charlie and I had and still have is something that transcends this world and into heaven. And that's why I still feel so connected to him, because again, we made that covenant. And how intentional he was about serving myself, that made me be a better wife. How can I serve you when you get home? What can I do better to be a better wife to you? How can I love on you better? When you communicate with each other, that's what's missing in this world. You talk about us being detached on our phones at dinner. I saw that tonight. There was a 5-year-old girl at a round table with her family of 5. And the only person with headphones on, rhinestone headphones, was the 5-year-old girl. What message does that show to her? Your voice doesn't matter. You're not an adult. You're not raising a little girl. You're raising a woman. And so in this book too, Charlie talks about how important it is. Put your phone down, engage with your family, pour into them. That's your legacy. You don't want to ignore that. You want to pour into them.
Are people actually, do they spend all that time running away? They don't want to face whatever it is. I mean, I think one of the hardest things to do in life is, and I think Christianity is misunderstood in a lot of ways. And that, you know, oh, I'm a Christian. Oh, you think you're holier than thou. That's, I don't believe that at all. I think the first thing you acknowledge as a Christian is you're a failure.
You're a sinner and you need a savior. That is the first thing. So I don't know how that's holier than thou when you realize up front, you need a God and it's not you. And
you're asking for help and you're asking for transformation.
Correct.
From the Latin, the word repentance means to change one's heart.
Right.
And that you're asking for help to do that.
Right. And Charlie talks about that in this book from the standpoint of do not idolize yourself. You don't have all the answers. You're not supposed to. And that's where it's so important for you to do a deep dive, know your nature, like Charlie said, figure out, obviously you're not perfect. No one is. Only God is. But there are things that you can do in your life to be able to be more in tune with the Holy Spirit and be able to make a difference in this life, a short life. And it starts with you realizing you're not perfect and the world doesn't revolve around you. And you're here to serve and to love others. That's what's most important.
You know, you talk about what the heart of Christianity is. What was Jesus's commandment? You know, love others as I have loved you. And he gave the ultimate sacrifice.
Correct.
As I look at this, and by the way, it's 45books.com. I hope everyone will get a hold of it. You know, we're mind, body, and spirit, you know, and we're all into health, wellness, fitness, nutrition,
trying to stay alive forever.
And we're just cold plunge.
Right. Saunas.
You know, do everything, saunas,
vitamins.
And eating healthier.
Yes.
All right, we nourish our minds by reading and intellectual knowledge. We nourish our bodies, we eat healthier, we work out. But I think we often forget the spiritual component of human existence and stillness. I think my best moments, or the moments I feel closest to God, are when I'm still and I'm quiet.
Absolutely.
And it's probably, I don't do it enough. I don't.
Well, the enemy would love for you not to. The battleground is in your head. The enemy would love nothing more than to be able to just confuse things in your head and make it so loud that you cannot make any decisions. You can't absorb the word. You can't engage with other people. You can't communicate with other people. You're just you're on autopilot. The enemy would love that. But when you're able to stop and be still with the Lord, that's when he's able to use you the most. Yeah. When you're surrendered, when you're fully surrendered.
It's like saying the Lord's Prayer slowly with meaning and not getting, oh, I'm thinking about my next show. I'm thinking about, you know, what I'm going to say to so-and-so the next time I see them.
No, that's right. And that's what's so important. When you say that prayer and you catch yourself thinking outside of that space, start over.
I start over.
Yeah.
45books.com.
Yes.
It's called Stop in the Name of God, Why Honoring the Sabbath Will Transform Your Life. What an unbelievable final statement from somebody that I became friendly with and came to love and admire.
And you know what's so
And
powerful is that he is now living the ultimate Sabbath.
he's going to change lives with this book, and I think millions of them.
I
It
know.
really is a powerful book. And I hope people will consider at least try the hour, the 2 hours first, and then maybe work into it.
You don't even have to be religious. You can be a non-observing citizen and use this book to change your life.
Shabbat Shalom.
Amen.
I watch the Chosen over and over and over again. I feel like I know. But Erica, I'm so glad you came to be with us tonight. You're going to be on Fox and Friends tomorrow.
Yes.
You're going to be co-hosting the 5.
We have a busy
Welcome
week.
to our Fox family.
Thank you. God bless
It's really
you.
an honor to have you
Thank
here.
you for being
And,
such a good friend, Sean.
we pray for your children and you and your whole Turning Point family.
I deeply appreciate that. We need the prayers.
Thank you.
God bless you.
It's 45books.com.
Yes, sir.
All right. And in bookstores around the country. We'll have more Hannity straight ahead.
I love it.
I love it too. I love it too. There was a
Because, like
comment.
Charlie, it's not about her or even the book. I mean, she's there to promote the book, but it's about it's about his message that he put into the book. It's about Jesus.
Yeah, and look, somebody was like, "Oh, she's promoting his book." Yeah, she's promoting his book. You know why she's promoting his book? Because he's not here to promote the book that he wrote. I mean, I don't even understand. I mean, I don't like. Do you people not even understand how evil and just disgusting some of the things that you say about these people are? It's really sad. It's sad that your mind has been so poisoned. And again, this is mostly from Candace. Your mind has been so poisoned against these people. And like, even these people are like, oh, I've heard a lot of comments about, TPUSA used to be great, but now it's different. No, the only reason it's different is because you've been deceived into believing that it's different. Even when we go back to look, all this outside accounting, all these people are saying, hey, there's all this tax fraud, all this stuff going on. And by the way, outside people digging these things, and I know because I have a 501c3, like not all the tax records and things are actually published. You can't, from the outside, do an audit of internally of a company. You have no idea what's actually going on. And Turning Point USA has already said they've never missed a 990. And I believe them, by the way. I have no reason not to. I sure am not going to believe some person that's on the internet that is scrolling around through some tax records that can't see the internal books, that don't have the inside information, that don't really know what's going on. So, people's minds have been poisoned, and that's what disinformation is. You don't even have all the information, but all of that stuff that people are now accusing TPUSA of, all that stuff happened while Charlie was alive. So don't sit here and pretend that you're some big advocate of Charlie and that you're justice for Charlie. And by the way, a lot of these people, Ian Carroll, Ryan Matta, all these people, I have tons and tons of freaking tweets of theirs when Charlie was alive, all the crap that they were saying about TPUSA and Charlie himself. And they hated him when he was dead. And now they're trying to destroy his legacy. They hated him when he was alive. They're trying to destroy his legacy now that he's dead. That's a fact.
Yes. He, Ian Carroll, September 7th, 3 days before Charlie was murdered, he was calling Charlie a servant of Zionist masters, and he hated him.
There's a bunch more. I have 3 or 4 very malicious. And look, I'll be honest with you. I like Ian. I disagree with almost everything he does, everything he says. I think he's again caught up in this thing, and I'm not even going to call it anti-Semitism, because again, I think there's real legitimate a discussion that we need to have about not just Israel, but about the money that we send overseas to all these countries. But there is legitimate criticism of Israel, AIPAC, all those things. All right. If you criticize Israel, you're not anti-Semitic. That being said, when you're that person that every problem you see, you think Israel's behind it, okay, you got an issue. All right. I don't even know if it's anti-Semitism. It's just this weird, I don't even want to call it bigotry. You just have this prejudice that is going on there, that people get sucked. We all do it. We all have our own weird prejudices and things that we see and whatever else is going on. That's just a human thing. But when everything is Israel, like, it's just dumb. It's just dumb.
It's also the person who didn't like that I was talking about cluster B is not going to like this, but there's a lot of cluster A traits among the people who are obsessed with Israel. Cluster A is like, paranoid schizophrenics, that kind of stuff. Who one of the traits is, I'm not saying they're all schizos, I'm just saying they show one of these traits sometimes, which is that they bring everything back to the topic that's central to their delusion. And a lot of these people, it doesn't matter what you say, that it's a nice day outside, and they're like, what about Israel? And I'm like, oh my gosh, like
Yeah.
everything has to
Yeah,
be
look,
about that.
and again, I'm just so like the moment somebody says Zionist, I just because like you can make some good points on some of the, there's things that we need to reassess, I think, with our geopolitics. I agree that we need to stay out of wars, but like for guys like me, you've completely turned me off. Like I don't even want to listen to anything you say because it just sounds like some racist diatribe. And again, I'm not even saying that. I'm just saying it sounds like that. Maybe you're not. Maybe it's just all politics. But it just when Zionist is every other word in your entire discussion, like you just sound ignorant and dumb. And you know what? Most of you you've been fed a bunch of stuff, you've believed it, and you just regurgitate it. You haven't even looked into it yourself. You don't even know. You're just parroting what somebody that you admire has told you. And when it even comes to like the lobbyist, yeah, okay, maybe AIPAC, there's a bunch of foreign lobbyists. There's a lot of countries that are trying to promote their interests into this. Okay. I have a much bigger problem with the defense lobby than I do AIPAC. I have a much bigger problem with the pharmaceutical lobby than I do AIPAC. I think both of those are greater threats to our country than AIPAC ever is. I have a real problem with the fact that we have Dearborn, where my dad lives, is like 90% Muslim. It's freaking insane. Okay. Like I have a whole problem with our country being overran with immigration. Like all of these problems are bigger problems. And somebody was talking about Trump up here. I tagged it and then I lost it, I guess. But anyways, look, there's a lot of things I'm disappointed with the Trump administration. There's no doubt about it. But it is 1,000, like all the things I listed on a tweet the other day of all the things that the Trump administration accomplished in the first 6 months. And I ran out of room. I have X premium, so I get like 1 million words, but I still ran out of room. So I only list about half of them. The fact is, Trump could have done nothing but come in and stopped the immigration, the illegal immigration that we were being overran with, and I would be happy. But what we also have is we have lower gas prices, lower food prices. Inflation is significantly lower. Like Trump has done more in less than the first year than Biden was able to do positively. I mean, I think he destroyed this country in many different ways. But just the things that he actually got accomplished, he's gotten 10 times more things accomplished. But we have all of you guys are just buying the hype. When Ian Carroll and all these other people are saying Trump sucks and whatever other social media personality, you haven't even looked at what has actually been done. And again, you're just buying into propaganda because these people are just there to sow chaos. I think that's a lot of what they do.
Also, I think one of your commenters said it's because what we were talking about earlier. A lot of people put faith in human beings as if they're God, and they're not God. They're going to let you down. And when you make an idol out of a person, and then they push forward a policy you don't like, or like I didn't like that he tried to gaslight us about the Epstein files. Like, why do you care? I didn't like that, Trump. But that I don't treat him like a god. I expect him to fail me on something. So if you stop making idols out of people, like out of politicians, I think you won't be as disappointed those times when they do disappoint you. It won't cause you to completely throw them out the window and say, it would have been better under Kamala, which is crazy. It would not have been. So.
Yeah. I mean, like, look, I've said this 100 times. Charlie Kirk has basically, they basically have attributed 2.5 billion votes to Charlie Kirk alone. We won the election by 2.3 million votes. I think that is a low estimate as far as the amount of votes that Charlie Kirk has actually achieved. And it is because of him and TPUSA. We've had a revival of conservatism. We've had a Trump presidency over a Kamala Harris and Tim Walz All right. I just want you to remember that, Yahoo. We are so much better placed because of TPUSA, because of Trump. And there is always going to be things to criticize. There's things to criticize that are definitely their fault. Trump is not a perfect man by any stretch to me. But we also have, and people forget about this. Like, do you think that the deep state just went away? No, they were increased in numbers during the Biden administration. And do you think they just like backed off and quit trying to take down Trump? They realized a direct approach through lawfare and all the things that they did and through obstruction during Trump's first term didn't work. I think that the deep state is very involved with pushing this stuff with Candace and all the other stuff because it hurts the MAGA movement, conservatism, Trump, whatever you want to call it. And our enemies, both foreign and domestic, do not want another freaking, they definitely want Democrats in office. Whether the next president is going to be, or the nominee will be J.D. Vance, which I think is probably the most likely candidate, which I like. But, again, you got all these anti-Israel folks trying to say that J.D. Vance is owned by the Jews and owned by Israel. And that is the intent. You guys got to see what's behind the curtain a little bit and see what's going on. And we are this is an information war that we've never seen before. And Candace is just the most obvious part of it. It really is.
Yeah.
Let me just make sure we don't have any more super chats. I don't want to miss those. Yeah, so this is the one I did tag it. I put a lot of faith in President Trump, and I think that's where I went astray. I still support him and love him, but he's just a man. He's not my savior. He's not God, and I hope he does right by us. Again, I mean, all you can do is a comparative analysis from one president to the next. And yeah, he's not our savior. He does some wild stuff. All right. There's no doubt about it. But I think we're in a much better spot. And that's because of Trump. And that's because of Charlie. And you can go through, you can criticize TPUSA, you can criticize Trump, you can criticize anybody. But when you compare Trump, TPUSA to the alternative, the other big thing that we saw that was very effective with TPUSA and Charlie Kirk especially, that we've kind of lost sight of, is the entire trans movement. That really, I mean, Charlie Kirk and Riley Gaines, like they were the two people that stopped that in its tracks. We had mental patients in the United States that were making policies, that were legislating policies to where, they were allowing men in little girls' locker rooms. They were allowing boys in girls' sports. Like, that is evil. It's disgusting. It's sick. It's pedophilic. It's just nonsense. And we have the inmates running the asylum, and they stopped that. And that is why he was killed. And that's why I still think that Tyler Robinson is the one, that with a whole bunch of other evidence. And folks, I will discuss with you all that you want to discuss. We can explore all the possibilities. But what I'm not going to do is not stand up when I think somebody is lying. And I think Candace is not only lying, I think there's a whole agenda behind everything that she's doing. And I think part of it's her, part of it's that she's being manipulated, but there's a huge structure behind her. It's political, it's foreign, it's adversarial to everything that we believe as Americans.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, Jordan Peterson was a huge part of that too. There's no doubt about that.
And Billboard Chris and James Lindsay. There's been a lot of great people we've won so many cultural war battles. We haven't won the war, but we've won a lot of battles. After Trump won this last time, I was like, I just didn't think things would get this cancerous so soon. But it's just amazing that we took all of that momentum that we had after the win, and then now we're having to. Here's one thing I'll say: I like that the conservatives and Christians are mounting a defense against these toxic extremist elements. The left never did that. The left just let the crazy, insane people run the left, and they made them celebrities and they made them politicians, and until the woke ideology cannibalized all of the liberals. and destroyed the left and almost destroyed this country. So at least conservatives are more discerning and are mounting this defense, and that's why there's this whole war happening online right now.
Well, yeah, and look, conservatives eat our own. Like, we pick apart our own people. Like, you're not conservative enough. Like, that is one thing that the left has always had an advantage of the right, is they are monolithic. People get in step. No matter what, they will wear 15, face masks in their car, while they're swimming. They'll do any and everything that their dogma tells them to do. And conservatives, we just eat our own. And, they may have a little bit of infighting here and there behind closed doors, but man, they are always on script. And as you know, as a former leftist, like, even the people, like, there's no, you're not even allowed to dissent in your own party. And it's a little crazy. Yeah. So, Keri, final thoughts. Tell us what we need to know.
Final thoughts are, if you want to know how to avoid being one of the gullible women that's mentioned in 2 Timothy, you have to be, these are the things my pastor talks about. You have to be in the word. You have to read the Bible. I know that, especially if you're a new Christian, that sounds so boring. But it's not. Like, the more that you read it, it's fascinating, and God will reveal things to you about what things mean. You'll understand the word better. You'll understand what's Jesus talking about when he's talking about you shall know them by their fruits, and you'll start to see examples of how to apply that in everyday life. So you have to be in the word. My pastor said when people come to him with problems, a lot of times he'll ask them, how often do you read the Bible? And like 99% of the time they're not in the word. And that's why there are problems that brew and develop in their personal life. Like, you have to be in the word. So I would say that final thought, if you want to know how to be discerning, you have to read scripture, and you need, I think we do need corporate worship. Like, you need the church body. You need to be around fellow believers. It's like going to the gym. It's spiritually renewing to be there. And if you don't have a good church near you, I know a lot of people, like, church got infiltrated by woke leftists. If you don't have a good church near you, keep looking. I visited a lot of churches before I found mine. Like, I went to a cowboy church where the pastor was on a horse. That was fun. I didn't stay there, but it can be fun visiting different churches while you find yours. So, and pray if you're a believer. And I guess that's my final word. I loved that interview. I'm glad we actually watched that. Otherwise, I don't think I would have watched it.
Yeah. No. Well, listen, we loved having you on. Somebody just talked a little bit about estrogen therapy. I think she was half joking. I think one of the biggest problems with mental illness is definitely our health and wellness. I think, all joking aside, number one, like, we need to get outdoors more. You need to stick with physical fitness, find something you like. I think that's part of our mental health, man. I really do. Our mental health problems here in the United States. I think this is why these kids are stuck on video games all day long. They live in this virtual world. I know we're kind of veering off track here, but that's what my squirrel brain does. But, like, man, make sure that your kids are getting some fitness in. We need to get some sunshine. And look, I take all kinds of supplements and vitamins, and I think everybody should too. Like, do some research on that. I'm not going to start peddling methylene blue like all the other places do, but I do take methylene blue. I think you should get into it. But I don't have any sponsors, but I do. I think we are spiritually struggling. Our entire nation is. The further that we get away from godly principles, I think the more that we are going to suffer as a nation. I think that's just a fact. We don't treat people right anymore. Again, spiritual issue. We don't speak the truth. We don't stand up for the truth. And that's what Charlie did. He stood up for the truth. And the truth is not always going to be popular. And again, I'm not joking. When I posted that video 2 days ago, I was like, there goes my channel. I'm going to lose half my, I don't care, folks. I don't do this for money. I don't care. I love this country. You can't pay me enough there's no amount of money that someone could pay me to say something I don't believe. Yes. Again, I know people that have lost their lives fighting for freedom and the principles. And yeah, maybe we got led astray with these wars and stuff, but we were in it for each other and we were in it for our country. It didn't matter that we ended up in Iraq or Afghanistan because it was predicated on a lie. We were still there so that other people didn't have to be. And I love this country, man, and I don't want us to lose it over lies. And this is the soul of our nation that we're fighting for. And it all starts with having the courage of getting up here and telling the truth. Maybe you'll get some things wrong, but I'm telling you, what's happening with Candace is a problem. And I'm telling you right now. And if you believe that, then you need to say it, because too many people are staying quiet about that. And you know what? If you believe Candace is God's greatest gift and she's doing right, you need to say that too. But yeah, speak the truth, stand up for the truth, have some courage. Anyways, Keri, thank you so much for coming on. I want to do
so
again.
much.
We got to have you on again pretty soon.
I'm so happy to find you, and I'll just say I want to go and watch all your debunking videos, because somebody commented on my channel that I don't want to debunk her. I don't want to go through all the points. So I'm glad to have found you. I need to watch them so I can recommend them. And thank you for doing that. I know it's got to be frustrating.
Yes. It is something special. Well, listen, Keri, don't go anywhere right now. But listen, folks, we appreciate you tuning in. We have another great guest on tomorrow night. And then we have another great guest on Wednesday night. So we got 3 in a row. So I don't know. Maybe we'll have someone on Thursday or Friday. I don't know. So make sure you like, subscribe. If you want to become a member and help support the channel, we appreciate that. We have Patreon and stuff. I don't really try to promote that stuff. If you want to support us, there's lots of different ways that you can do that. You can also go to ParamountTactical.com, and that's what pays for this, right? Our business is what pays for this. And this is a money loss. I don't care what anybody says. I wish somebody would send me some checks. I do.
Yeah.
I wouldn't change anything that I said, but you can send me all the checks that you want.
Attention, the Jews.
Attention to the Jews. Send us some money.
Stupid.
You're not going to change what I say. You can put it $10 million. Gary's going to say exactly what I said I was going to say, no matter how much money you put on here. It's not about money. I don't care about it. Ask my wife. Ask her how much I care about money. Anyways, folks, we really appreciate you tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow at 8 p.m. Make sure you come see us again, 8 p.m. Wednesday Eastern time. And we always have a live stream on Wednesday unless something crazy happens, but at least every Wednesday. And then sometimes we do these spontaneous ones. We try to get a bunch of people in. Anyways, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your support. God bless you all. And until next time, stay armed, stay ready. We'll talk to you.